Hello and welcome to our Essential Wellness Educational Series. My name is Aisha Harley and I am here with special guest Marv Johnson. We are coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. We have a fantastic and very informative presentation for you. So please take a moment to limit your distractions. Take out your notepad. Marv has some amazing information to share and you're surely going to want to take notes. And record all the valuable information we have for you. Oh, just give me a moment there. Oops. Okay, sorry about that. Our intention in this series of Essential Wellness webinars is to educate and empower you to use doTERRA essential oils safely and effectively for the wellness of your entire family. We have had amazing success using the oils in our lives, and we are very passionate about sharing them with you all. I'd like to do a quick review for those joining us that are new today about about using the oils. As you may be asking, what exactly is an essential oil, and why is everyone getting so excited about them? Have you ever squeezed an orange peel or walked through a garden of flowers and enjoyed their fragrance? If so, you've already experienced an example of the aromatic qualities of essential oils. Essential oils are the natural aromatic compounds found in the bark, seeds, stems, roots, flowers, and other parts of the plants. While essential oils are vital in the development and health of plants, individuals have long been able to benefit from essential oils for food preparation, beauty treatments, and healthcare practices for thousands of years. Essential oils are truly the gifts of the earth. I use them daily and could never imagine my life without them. We realize there are many essential oils to choose from. When you choose doTERRA, you are choosing essential oils gently and carefully distilled from plants that have been patiently harvested at the perfect moment by experienced growers from around the world for ideal extract composition and efficacy. For example, our lavender is from France, lemon from Italy, peppermint from Washington, and vetiver from Haiti. Each doTERRA essential oil is also carefully and thoroughly tested using the strict CPTG, Certified Pure Therapeutic Grade Quality Protocol. Experienced essential oil users will immediately recognize the superior quality standard for naturally safe, purely effective, therapeutic grade doTERRA essential oils. We sincerely hope you will try some so you can experience for yourself their effective healing benefits. It is an honor to introduce Marv Johnson. Marv worked as a professional photographer for 21 years. In fact, that is how we met, was through our photography careers. So it's really very extra special that we now share the same passion of sharing and educating others about the safe use of essential oils. Marv uses the doTERRA products to support his health, stamina, and mental clarity, and has been totally amazed by the results. In fact, he became so passionate about sharing doTERRA, he, like myself, has changed the course of his career direction and became the producer of the Essential Oil podcast series. If you are not aware of his series, I highly recommend checking it out. Please see his website at www.essentialoileducator.com. Marv lives in Portland with his partner Lita and has 3 beautiful and talented children. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Marv.
Hello. Hello, everybody. This is Marv Johnson, and I just want to give a big thank you to Aisha for that introduction, and also for her hard work in producing this remarkable series of educational webinars. So a big shout out to Aisha. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience with brain fog. So I'm going to roll back to year 2000, and that's when I started my very first internet business. And for several years, it actually did quite well. But like anything online, there are rapid and sometimes very dramatic changes. So fast forward to about 2008, and this was a time in my life where I had a lot of stress and some changes going on. And at work, I would experience a lot of low energy, sometimes a lack of concentration. So I would have a few good hours in the morning, and then sometimes the afternoons were I just wasn't there. I was in a creative business, so sometimes I just didn't feel the energy that a creative person needs. And then felt very low motivation towards change. And that was the key ingredient that I needed at that point. So I remember this point in 2008 where I realized my business or the nature of my online business had gone through a lot of changes, and it would take a lot of work and motivation to do that. And I realized that, something's not quite right here. So that started a journey for me to dig into what I was experiencing. So I'm going to talk about some of that today. So today's topics, we are going to focus a lot on, well, we're going to talk about mental focus, and then we're going to talk about what causes lack of mental focus and brain fog, and that is in the form of mitochondrial strain and oxidative stress. And don't worry, I will go back and thoroughly explain what those things are. We're going to talk about some lifestyle choices that lead to mitochondrial strain and oxidative stress. We'll talk about food, supplements, and essential oils, and a number of different things that you can do today to increase your own mental clarity. I will talk about at the end something very practical but very powerful, and I like to call it a superpower that you can take home and use whenever you want. And then I will finish with my daily protocols. So as you probably know already, the brain is complicated, and there is a lot to learn about what is going on inside of our heads. So some examples of this is there's vast studies in neuroelectricity, neurochemistry, and neuroanatomy. And if you are interested, you could go to school and get your PhD in any of these subjects. So an example of neuroelectricity would be that all of our thoughts have waves, and there is an electrical current running through our brains and our bodies at all times. So an example of that would be a beta wave. And at the low end of beta, you would have concentration and learning going on. At the high end of beta, you might be experiencing some fear and stress. For neurochemistry, a good example of that is the neurotransmitter of dopamine. And dopamine is going to come up a lot today in this talk because that is the neurotransmitter of focus. And for neuroanatomy, an example of that would be your prefrontal cortex. This is a part of your brain in the front, and this is where focus happens. It's your supervisor. It's responsible for making good decisions, for making your plans, for creating organization, and other things. So the good news is, when supported naturally, what's good for the chemistry of your brain is also good for the electricity of your brain, and then it's also good for the anatomy of your brain. So we're going to talk a lot about the difference between a natural approach, which is more holistic and is going to hit all the different processes of the brain and the body, as opposed to a more of a pharmacological approach, which might only address one specific part at a time. And there's even more good news on top of that. So not only is what is good for your brain but it's also good for the rest of you. So what is good for your brain is good for your heart, and that is good for your lungs, that's good for your liver. And this is because this kind of health, where it's systemic, it starts on the cellular level. So one of my favorite authors that writes about health and nutrition is Dr. Terry Walls. She has a great TED Talk, and you might want to look that up. And she tells her own story, which is quite remarkable, about healing about her progress she made with progressive MS and how she took a natural approach to dealing with that. So she says, we all have the same chronic disease, broken biochemistry and confused signaling between our cells. This leads to too much inflammation and strained mitochondria, largely the result of lifestyle choices. So it all begins with the cell, and it all begins with healthy mitochondria. So what are mitochondria? So if you look at this picture, and inside there's those funny looking shapes, those long ovals, and they're all crowded together. A good analogy to use here is the analogy of a jet airplane. So if you were on a jet airplane, say, for example, a 747, that plane would have 4 engines. So the cell would be the plane, and the mitochondria would be the engines. And ideally, you want as many engines, and you want those engines functioning efficiently as possible. If you were to lose one of those engines, you would still get there. The other 3 would get you there, but you might not get there as fast, and you might create a lot more pollution along the way. So these mitochondria are cellular engines, and they are responsible for energy in all parts of your body. If a body part requires more energy, more mitochondria is needed. So the brain, the eyes, the heart, and the liver contain more mitochondria than any other part of your body. The brain, which is 2% of your body weight, uses about 20% of your energy. Another thing that these mitochondria do is they're responsible for orchestrating cell death. So when a cell has lived its proper lifespan, it's time for it to be eliminated. And this is a natural process, and it's happening every day. And this is called apoptosis. The mitochondria also produce ATP, which you can think of as fuel that powers every chemical process inside the body. So if the mitochondria are sick, or there's too few of them, they don't do the job that you need them to do properly. So again, think back to that jet airplane. So you only had 2 of those engines functioning. They would have to work extremely hard to get you to your destination, and they would be highly inefficient. So they would be slower, and they would produce a lot more waste than if they had the full 4 engines operating. So just like the plane, our cells on a daily basis, all the time, are producing waste. And that's a natural process. And that waste product is called free radicals. And you've probably heard of the term antioxidants. So it's the job of the antioxidant to go up and clean up those free radicals. And if it is in a small or a moderate amount, we usually stay pretty healthy because our body naturally produces free radicals. And we also get a lot of free radicals from our food sources. However, if our mitochondria are inefficient, one of the big symptoms is brain fog. And what that can look like is a lack of concentration or an inability to focus. It can mean that you get tired easily. It can show up as mental confusion. You might always be reaching for stimulants, such as caffeine and sugar drinks and other sources. You could feel foggy or just disoriented at times. And it could also lead to sleep issues or blood sugar issues. So I'm going to go through some examples of daily lifestyle choices and some of the results that those choices can have on our mitochondria and therefore our energy and therefore our mental clarity. So one thing that's real common in our society is the use of pharmaceutical drugs. And pharmaceutical drugs are amazing products. They're potent and they're powerful, and at certain times they can save your life. However, the chronic use of pharmaceutical drugs can also have effects and side effects on the body that are highly undesirable. So let me give you one example of a pharmaceutical drug that can actually do the opposite of what we want it to do. So the drug acetaminophen, which is a very common over-the-counter and sometimes prescription medication, is used sometimes just as a pain reliever or a fever reliever or a fever reducer. So one thing that happens when you use acetaminophen to reduce a fever is that it blocks the natural production of an antioxidant in your body called glutathione. So the liver will naturally produce this in order to protect your brain from free radical oxidation. So glutathione you can think of as the king of antioxidants. You want as much glutathione as your body will naturally produce. And you definitely don't want anything that will interrupt with the production of glutathione. One particular thing that's remarkable about glutathione is that it is a neuroprotector, and it's particularly important for protecting our brains against heavy metal exposure. Some other examples of mitochondrial strain and oxidative stress that just come from everyday things that we do are the use of additives in our food. So a lot of processed foods have MSG or HVP, which is hydrolyzed vegetable protein, and those show up on labels as natural flavors. So the FDA does not really require that those things be listed, but they're quite common in processed foods. Another biggie is the overuse of sugar. Sugar is probably, like our bodies are attracted to sugar from the immediate boost of energy that it gets, but the large amounts that we consume in our society today lead to inflammation throughout the body, and sugar is actually a neurotoxin that can have some strong mitigating effects on the brain. Another example is a sedentary lifestyle. Exercise and movement increase lymphatic circulation, which helps to detoxify the brain from toxins in food, in air, and water. This lymphatic circulation cleans out the system. It leads to cell growth, and it also is responsible for the production of neurotransmitters. Often when we don't have a habit of regular exercise, we feel the need for passive stimulation. And this might show up in the use of watching television a lot, or it might be large quantities of internet use or video games. So some other examples of this mitochondrial strain, chronic stress. Stress has a huge impact on your entire system. The use of stimulant drugs. Large amounts of dopamine are released when you use stimulant drugs. And in the moment, it feels good. But the problem with that is it downregulates the dopamine receptors. And then more and more of this stimulant drug needs to be used on a regular basis to have the same effect. And that can even lead to addiction. The use of antibiotics is a big issue in our society as well. Antibiotics save lives, of course, but the overprescription of them, especially in small children, has a huge impact on our gut biome and our gut bacteria. So this is becoming a growing issue in the medical community, and new studies from research are showing up about this all the time. It can interrupt the normal gut bacteria, and which is responsible for producing a lot of B vitamins that are important for our brain, and also for neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. Pesticides, GMOs, plastics are all big hormone and brain chemical disruptors. And then mitochondria are very sensitive to toxins. So even household toxins like our cleaners or our skincare products. So let's talk about what we can do. So with the right natural support, the brain is a self-regulating mechanism. It is designed to heal itself. And you can actually recharge your brain as if you were recharging your battery in your cell phone. So this particular chart is from doTERRA, and they have a wellness philosophy, and this is a chart that represents that wellness philosophy. And what I really like about it is it heavily focuses on the lifestyle choices. So medicine, it really doesn't even show up until the very top, and that's being also, they're also prescribing that you be very conscious about the use of the medicines that you use. So let's talk about feeding your cells what they need. So you can actually rebuild your cells molecule by molecule. You can create more mitochondria, which leads to more energy and less brain fog. You can create efficient mitochondria that do all kinds of great things for your cells. This will lead to the proper lifespan of the cell. So a cell that is supposed to be eliminated through the body will not stay around and turn into something mutagenic or something that you don't want. This will help with the stop of premature aging. It will improve your blood pressure, improve your fatigue, brain fog clears, and a real biggie is the need for pharmaceutical drugs will decline. So how do we do this? So if you feed your mitochondria, you turn your health around. So at the very base, your brain will be happy with, your brain will be alive with glucose, some ketones from fat, and some oxygen. But it also really loves all of the B vitamins. Some important minerals for the brain are sulfur, zinc, magnesium, iron, and manganese. The brain appreciates lots of antioxidants. And then it also appreciates some amino acids and polyphenols like L-carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid, and coenzyme Q10. These are things that the body produces naturally, but as we age, the body actually produces less of these. So a great place to start is, of course, with your food. I love this quote by Michael Pollan. He says, if it's a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't. And I'm not really advocating a vegetarian lifestyle here, but I like the idea of eating real food. So when I go to the grocery store, I actually try to avoid that whole middle section that includes packaged foods and boxes and plastic wrappings. If a food is in a box or a plastic wrapping, you can probably be sure that it has some kind of additive and has been processed. So a good test for yourself, or a good experiment, I should say, would be make a trip to the grocery store and stay on the outside. Go to the produce, the vegetable section, and the yogurt and dairy section, and then maybe down to the butcher for some clean proteins, and see how that results for you. Some micronutrients that you get from your food and also from supplements that your brain really loves are, for example, vitamin A. That's going to support the retina very well. The B vitamins, which are going to support the myelin, which the myelin is kind of like a plastic protective coating around a certain section of your neurons, and it's essential for the chemistry of the brain. Without it, a lot of the chemical and the electrical processes break down. And and then a whole host of other nutrients that are listed there that you can normally get from a multivitamin. Some other micronutrients that aren't so common, and these assist with the production of mitochondria, are carnitine, lipoic acid, CoQ10. Cholesterol is important. It strengthens the cell membranes. Every cell membrane in your body actually has cholesterol in it. And there are new studies coming out that low cholesterol actually leads to less healthy cells. So it's something to keep in mind, talk to your doctor about. And then the omega-3 fatty acids are vital for cell health. So doTERRA makes a supplement line, and it's called the Lifelong Vitality Pack. And this is the first bottle in that supplement line. It's called the Microplex MVP. And this is your vitamins and your minerals. So it's a balanced formula of bioavailable vitamins and minerals that is easily absorbed by your body. And we listed those, or I listed those vitamins and minerals that the brain really loves. This includes all those in the proper dosages. So not only are these well researched, but they're very well formulated. So the dosage in this formula is very specific and is on purpose. So it's a lot different when you look at the back of this bottle and you see the amount that you get each day. That's on purpose and was created with a lot of intention. So it also includes a polyphenol blend, which is another word for, or another class of antioxidants. That includes grapeseed extract and quercetin. And these are both heavy hitters for the brain. The second bottle in this trio of supplements is the Z Omega. This is one of my favorites. I love taking it every day. The essential fatty acids are super important for the health of the brain. They're great for your joints. They're great for heart health. They're great for immune function. So the omega-3s in here are sourced from marine sources, and there's also land sources that include the ALA and the SDA and the GLA for those who are interested in that. It also includes a very strong antioxidant called astaxanthin, which comes from an algae. And then it also includes an essential oil blend that reduces inflammation in the body and in the cells. And this essential oil blend also acts as a natural preservative for the essential fatty acids. The third bottle in this trio of supplements is the Alpha CRS. And this one is not so common. This one would be harder to find on the shelves of your health food store. But it's an amazing blend of polyphenols and antioxidants that are very powerful for immune support and reducing inflammation in the body. It includes the CoQ10, the quercetin, the alpha-lipoic acid, the acetyl-L-carnitine, and the ginkgo, which are all important for mental clarity and energy. And then another supplement that I do take also on a daily basis is the Mito2 Max. And this was made specifically for mitochondrial function and support. So the title Mito comes from mitochondria, and they are maximizing the function of the mitochondria with this supplement. It has some crossover with the Alpha CRS, but then it also includes the herb ashwagandha, which is a root extract used in Ayurvedic medicine for years. It's good for boosting energy, supporting immunity, also having a positive effect on mood and sleep and stress. So this is a side-by-side comparison of the nutritional labels of the Mito2 Max and the Alpha CRS. So the way I like to think of it for me is the Alpha CRS is my daily maintenance, and the Mito2 Max is more of a protocol or a pharmacological use. So, like I said, I have experienced brain fog, and I would say that on some days it's still an issue, and the Mighty 2 Max makes a big difference in that area. So some essential oils that are very helpful for the brain are our next topic. So I'm going to list about 5 or 6 that I use, and then I'll also provide a list that are important for the brain, and you can pick and choose and experiment with what is best for you. This product, InTune, enhances and sustains focus. It supports paying attention and staying on task. So it includes 6 oils: sandalwood, frankincense, and lime, which contribute to clarity and focus, and patchouli, ylang-ylang, and Roman chamomile, which are very calming and soothing to the nervous system. So it comes in a roll-on bottle, so it's very convenient, and you can just roll a little bit on the top of your spine, and then take a moment and rub that in. Another oil I use on a daily basis is grapefruit. Grapefruit is great for reducing mental stress and for physical fatigue. If you were to diffuse it, like several other citrus oils, in your room or on your desk while you're working, you would feel a sense of energy. It sharpens focus, so it would be good to experiment while you are even just reading a book for pleasure. What's really interesting about grapefruit is the main chemical component is called D-limonene. And D-limonene is important for helping your body to produce glutathione naturally. And remember earlier I talked about glutathione as being a natural antioxidant that our body produces, and that you want as much of it as possible. This is a great way to support that on a daily basis. Frankincense, which is one of my favorites, it's very fat soluble, and our brain, mostly made up of fat cells, loves frankincense. Brain helps provide oxygen to the brain. Frankincense can also pass the blood-brain barrier and can help with any kind of inflammation issues that are going on. Peppermint is one of my favorites, and I actually like to use it with frankincense. So I take a drop of each under my tongue, and then after I take a few breaths, normal breaths, then I take a deep breath through my mouth, and I can actually just feel a sense of energy that is created with the peppermint and frankincense together. It feels like a stimulant and creates a lot of alertness. It also stimulates the limbic system, and the limbic system is part of the brain that houses the sense of smell and the sense of stored emotions. It's the only part of the brain that doesn't have a transfer station for one of your senses. So when you experience an aroma, it goes right to the deep limbic system in your brain. And then sandalwood is one of my favorites. It's been used in meditation, and that's how I use it, but it's been used in temples and religious houses for centuries. One thing that's very interesting about essential oils is that it only takes 40 molecules to detect a fragrance, but only 14 molecules to have a physiological effect on your body. So before you even smell the sandalwood oil, the essential oils can be affecting your mood. They can be affecting your system without even realizing it. And amazingly, each drop of essential oil contains 40 million molecules. And that's not just for sandalwood, that's for many essential oils. This blend called Slim and Sassy is great for brain fog. It has strong metabolic benefits. It's called Slim and Sassy, the Metabolic Blend. It's a detoxifier for your body. The peppermint acts as a stimulant. We already talked about that. The lemon and grapefruit aid in that process of cell death we call apoptosis, and the glutathione production. And the cinnamon and the ginger are known for their anti-inflammatory effects. So find your own essential oil, I should say, find your own brain essential oil. There are lots of oils to try. I gave you my list, but I am still going through this list that I have here. Some things to try for memory are rosemary, myrrh, marjoram, geranium, and cypress. And some things to try to support your mental acuity and focus are balance oil, elevation, vetiver, patchouli, or basil. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about a brain superpower that you can use every single day. And it has to do with ants in your home and pets. So one of my favorite brain authors is Dr. Daniel Amen, and he is known for doing brain imagery and realizing which part of your brains are working efficiently or inefficiently. He teaches about automatic negative thoughts. And left on autopilot, your brain is full of automatic negative thoughts every single day. And what's important about that is that every thought that you have sends an electrical signal throughout the brain. And this electrical signal actually has a physiological effect on every cell on your body. So your thoughts are important. So let's look at what some automatic negative thoughts might look like. Oftentimes they show up just on daily thoughts that enter our head that we don't even try to have. That might show up, it shows up commonly as the I'm not enough thought. And that could be, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not tall enough, or I'm not rich enough, or I'm not pretty enough. So fill in the blank. We all have those thoughts. But what's interesting about thoughts is that they are only thoughts, and you are not your thoughts. I kind of like to think of it as thoughts are just a thing. So one way to kill your ants is when you have a thought, just recognize it as a thought. And that simple practice of just going, oh, that's a thought, I'm not that, has a way of neutralizing it. So some other automatic negative thoughts might show up in blame, like he never listens to me, or it might show up in guilt, or I should do this, or I should spend more time with my kids. And it might show up as being a victim, like, oh, I just don't deserve a raise. These are things that, left to their own devices, they run through your brain and they have a physiological effect on you. So what do we do about that besides recognizing them? Well, here's your superpower. It has to do with pets. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about this quote. Our minds are Teflon for the good and Velcro for the bad. So oftentimes when I'm going out throughout my day, I might do something that is really good, but I don't even take a moment to recognize myself for that. And so it just kind of slips away. And it doesn't have a chance to actually go a layer deep and become a part of my neurochemistry and become a part of my subconscious. However, if something bad happens, I might ruminate on that all day long, or I might wake up thinking about it at night. So what do? Create positive, energetic thoughts. So neurons that fire together, they wire together. And what that means is you can actually create new pathways in your brain. So if you get in the habit of creating these positive, energetic thoughts, your brain will rewire itself. It will create pathways that, in a sense, become habits or well-traveled roads throughout your brain. And then this whole system becomes much easier. So here's what you do. On a nightly basis, do a daily inventory and talk to yourself as if you were talking to a friend. For me, this might look like, you called a friend today, good job. Or you put a great meal on the table for your family. Awesome. You shared an essential oil sample with a friend. That might really help them. Way to take that step. Or nice job taking care of your body today and exercising. Oh, you listened really well today to your son's problem. So 5 at a minimum, but if you want to do 10 or 20, all the better. And what happens when you do this as a daily practice, you're actually creating new brain pathways, and it starts to feel good. And then you start doing it throughout the day, and you begin to have an entirely different perspective. So here's my protocols on a daily basis. Hydrate well every day. Eat a non-processed food diet as much as you possibly can. I try to sleep 7 hours, 7 or 9 or 8, 7 or 8 or 9 hours per night. I use the doTERRA LLV every day. So you could use that or the doTERRA Daily Nutrient Pack. Slim and Sassy every day for its capacity to help you with your mental focus and all of its other metabolic benefits. Remember to walk your pets every day, kill your ants, and some kind of movement activity. Could be taking a walk, it could be getting up from your desk every 30, 40, 50 minutes and stretching, but something every day that creates some movement. So I'm going to list these protocols in good, better, and best. So this page is better. It's the same list, but if it's in blue, it's been added to the list. And so to your diet, you might want to focus heavily on adding high fiber vegetables. These are the green leafies. These are all the colors. And those are going to be awesome for your micronutrients that are going to support the brain. They're also going to be amazing for your gut biome. And some healthy fats such as avocado oil or coconut oil or very clean saturated fats in clean proteins. And then a moderate amount of protein. On top of the doTERRA LLV or the Daily Nutrient Pack, you might want to experiment with the doTERRA Mida2 Max and just see how you feel. On top of your movement activities, you can exercise hard 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be long. 20 minutes is awesome. But if your heart can elevate and you can use your muscles, and that will support your structure quite a bit, you will have some strong metabolic benefits. You will increase your lymphatic circulation, which your brain will really appreciate. And then use essential oils every day. Find the ones that are important for you and that are going to support your brain. These are oils that are going to give you a boost. They're going to create more mental clarity. They're going to make you feel relaxed and clear. And this is the best protocol. Same list, but if it's in red, it's been considered best. So experiment with MCT oil, and what this is a medium chain triglyceride. This comes in a bottle in your health food store. I put a tablespoon in my smoothies, not every day, but if you take this in the morning with your smoothie, your liver will use the MCT oil. It will process it into a ketone, which goes right to the brain for energy. Your brain can run on glucose or it can run on ketones. So experiment with that, see how you feel. Experiment with your caffeine use. Low or no caffeine at times is probably going to be beneficial to your brain. Create a healthy gut biome. And this is a huge, huge issue, and it's a big topic. It might be something worth seeing a naturopathic doctor and focusing on. Use a digestive enzyme on a regular basis. doTERRA makes one called Terrazyme. Create a meditation practice. I actually use a meditation app on my phone, and it's called Headspace. For me, it's been efficient and easy, fun. I use it 10 minutes a day. Focus on eliminating sugar. Focus on creating a very healthy insulin sensitivity in your body. If you have insulin sensitivity, work with a doctor and use as many natural means as you can to create health in that area. Learn something new often. So you might want to pick up a new hobby, and that could just be as simple as learning to knit or learning to ballroom dance. But these kind of activities create new neural pathways. There's amazing studies going on in neuroplasticity and the ability to actually grow our brain and create new neural pathways even into old age. And then you might want to think about a cleanse periodically. And a cleanse comes in all kinds of shapes and forms. But get together with someone, get together with a naturopath, and work on that. So I'm going to leave you today with this quote. Your brain is the hardware of your soul. You cannot be who you really want to be unless your brain works right. How your brain works determines how happy you are, how effective you feel, and how well you interact with others. All right, everybody, I really appreciate you listening, and feel free to contact me anytime if you have any questions.
Wow, what an amazing presentation. Thank you so much, Marv. We really appreciate all your insights. I'm going to mention as while we're presenting, we have some tangerine and rosemary diffusing in the room. We love our oils. So again, please check out Marv's podcasts to learn more and to tune in to all the fantastic education on the many ways to use essential oils. Would you just give our audience your schedule and just tell us a little bit about your podcast, a little bit more information?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find my podcast on iTunes if you look up Essential Oil Educator, or if you just search essential oils, it'll pop up on the podcast section. And my goal initially was to create one podcast every week where I interview an expert from health, wellness, nutrition, and essential oils. And right now we have about 20 podcasts up there. We have 2 very exciting podcasts coming up. One is with a singer-songwriter actor named Ben Lee, and he's this very cool, amazing guy. And another is with the wellness advocate and now author PJ Hanks. So stay tuned for those. So we try to get one up every week. So it usually ends up being about every 2 weeks, but you can go to iTunes and download that. You can also listen to them from my website, which is at essentialoileducator.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Again, highly recommend checking them out. They are really informative, a lot of great guests. I even have an interview up there about my story and journey of healing. So just a few more minutes and then we'll wrap up today. If you are not already a part of our Essential Wellness family, we invite you to join us. We are committed to building a community centered around essential oil education and offer ongoing support such as these webinars. As you dive deeper into all the many ways to use doTERRA to support your family's wellness, we want to make sure that you have the tools and the resources you need. When you open a doTERRA wholesale membership, you'll receive immediate access to our Essential Wellness PDX Facebook support page. Again, we have our online webinars. We have weekly calls. Plus, if you are interested in learning more about how to get your oils for free, earning some extra income, or completely replacing your income, like I have done, like Marv is working on doing, we have an online step-by-step business training that we offer to you in the support of creating a life you'll love with doTERRA. I have to say, I absolutely love sharing the oils and teaching and educating. It's been such a beautiful transition in my own life, and I really couldn't be happier. So if you're ready to get started, really the best way to get your oils is to open up a wholesale account. If you want to just try one or two, you can certainly order them retail as well. So we advise that you speak to the person who invited you to our webinar, and they can help you choose the best enrollment options for you. And if you do not have a contact with doTERRA, please email us at Essential Wellness. Please note it's pdxx@gmail.com. Again, Essential Wellness, pdxx@gmail.com. You'll see the link up there on the screen, and we would be happy to support you in getting started. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you have a beautiful day. Get out your oils. And I recommend just implementing, even if it's a couple of tips that Marv suggested, making those small daily steps is what's going to make a big impact on changing your life and improving your mental clarity. So pick one or two steps that spoke to you the most and begin implementing those. And then over time, you can introduce a few more steps. That's how we really make long-lasting change. Thank you all so much for joining us, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.